DeRazzled podcast, and I am going to show you some more logo building for that podcast, as well as rant about everything. So first, let me get back to a comfortable seat, and then I'll update you on what we did last time. Oh gosh. So where we left off last time, I'll show you a little bit of what we're going for, right? So we have the base, which, oh yeah, that's nice and blown out. Kind of see, use my hand as a shadow. You can see this kind of craggy base, and then we're putting the videotape on top with the intention of putting these little raspberries all around here, and then we'll go in digitally, add in the logo and the label, and then the DeRazzled logo up here. So we had, you and I, we had a great time building this out from the VHS tape. Francis in the Navy, as you may recall. Building a bunch of tinfoil, which I'm sure sounded really, really nice. I put a layer of plaster or spackling over it so that the glue, the hot glue, which I'll use to stick these fellas on here, has a little bit more of a hold rather than the slick tinfoil. And then I left you to go spray paint some raspberries, which I did. But there was a problem, right? So I use this spray paint, metallic gold, and like, it wasn't a lie. It was metallic gold. It is metallic gold. And this is the raspberry that we came out with. But it wasn't very razzle-dazzly. And that's what we want. So I ordered, I was like, well, we're going to make sure this is nice and sparkly. So I ordered some acrylic gold, just a little more shine to it, which I then spray painted, or I painted onto this testberry 1. And then I didn't want to take any chances. Belinda suggested that I glitter it. So I bought a bag of ultra sparkle glitter that I'll use to season the berries. But for right now, I'm going to put a coat of black onto the base, so that whenever the berries are on it, it makes them pop a little bit more. And then while that's drying, I'm gonna paint a bunch of raspberries. There's a big paintbrush, another paintbrush, and some black paint. It's a box to protect my podcasting table. All hail Overlord Bezos, space deity, real Lex Luthor looking motherfucker. All right. How are all? Oh, I didn't enable the chat. Oh golly. Oh, hey there, Crimson Verse Aaron. Yeah, the glitter is a concern. I was because it's glitter and glitter do what glitter do. I was originally going to just like put all the berries on the base, hot glue them so they are there, and then paint them once they're on the base. That way I don't have to paint like the entire berry. I can just paint whatever's showing, and then sprinkle the glitter on from there. But glitter, as is well known, is a sadist and likes to crawl into all of the nooks and crannies, which like I don't really want the glitter to be on the videotape, or really in the background on the base. So we'll see if that happens or not, because glitter has a mind of its own. Gosh, sure do miss my big brush. That's okay. So last time we talked a little bit about the process or lack thereof of creating this podcast, which was to run as fast as possible in the direction of creating a product without looking behind you to see just how close that anxiety monster was to grabbing you. And that's kind of been the way that I've been operating just under a month at this point, with my artistic endeavors, both with the podcast, but also with writing my novel. And what else we got going on? Film output, things of that nature. So, I got further than I thought I would before I looked over my shoulder and was like, oh, he real close, that anxiety monster. Gosh, he's a biggin. So that's kind of what I want to talk to about a little bit today is the anxiety monster and what I'm doing to deal with it. Because I know a lot of my artsy fartsy friends deal with the same thing. Some of them, that anxiety monster lives with them around their neck in their bathroom, where those pervert anxiety monsters like to watch them do bathroom things. So I really don't understand how some of my art friends who work in film specifically are able to just be like, what I'm doing is sure a scary thing. The business could fall out from underneath me at any time. Say, like, I don't know, if a pandemic should shut down the artistic world, and like, this is my bread and butter, but they just keep on chug-a-lugging. And how? I don't know. I assume whiskey's involved, but I don't know. Yeah, that's right, Aaron. They specifically live, the anxiety monster. It lives. You ever see those videos of Australian toilets where they're like, "Oi, I can't do an Australian accent, but I'm gonna try anyway. Oi, you flush the toilet because there's spiders in there." I don't know what that was. I have a performance degree, and like they'll flush the toilet and like spiders will fall out from like the water jets kicking it out from where it's hidden underneath, or snakes and shit. Same place as where the anxiety monster lives. Actually, the spiders, they share rent with the anxiety monster. Where was I? Yeah, so I assume the people that don't deal or don't like openly deal with art plus anxiety openly just drink about it or have a better relationship with God. I don't know. Me, I apparently have a better grasp on it than what I thought I did. So says my therapist, because I know what it looks like. I've personified it, which I think has less to do with me being further along my psychological journey and more to do with, I just think that shit's real funny. Like, personifying stuff is a real hoot. Like, although the anxiety monster is really scary looking, to be completely honest with you. And it comes from, it kind of built up in my head over a couple of years. It started with me reading this book called, I want to say it's called The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz, which is a great book. It's a self-help book, but it doesn't really it doesn't taste like it. It's very implementable. But in it, at the very beginning of the book, I think in the introduction, he talks about this thing. And I haven't read this in like over a decade, but it's called the mitote, which is the personification of your self-doubt. So there's step one, just knowing that I could personify it. And the second step was reading this X-Men comic, New X-Men, by Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely, where Professor X's twin sister kinda creates this exoskeleton of psychic energy because, you know, comic books, and it is horrifying. Like she's a very tiny, frail old woman, you know, like she looks like Professor X, but slightly feminine. And there's this like blue, gooey, 12-foot tall psychic goo monster with arms, and then arms upon its arms, and then upon those arms are hands, and then the hands have hands. And then the mouth is like a big, I'm going to say sandworm, but like way scarier. Sandworms are kind of cool. Just a big spiky maw. And that is what I envision my mitote / anxiety monster looking like, is this many-armed, many-hand, big pointy teethy thingy reaching out to grab me, and then whispering what I would, in my darker moments, truths, which is kind of the whole thing about, God, I'm such a fucking nerd. Cassandra Nova is the character's name. That's kind of her whole thing, is she takes your fears, your self-doubts, uses them against you, and you kind of like crumble underneath her, which she does a really good job of doing to X-Men's Beast. But there's this lesser X-Men character called Gladiator, who his entire power revolves around him believing in himself, right? It's kind of like he's basically the Green Lantern, but no ring powers. He believes himself, and because he believes in himself, he is unbeatable. But Cassandra Nova is like, nah, you ain't shit, bud. And he's like, oh, gosh, you're right. And he loses all of his powers and is defeated by Cassandra Nova. In this metaphor, I am the Gladiator, and the mitote, the Cassandra Nova anxiety monster is my, like, I don't know, need for extrinsic approval, validation. Where am I going with this? You may be asking yourself. I don't know. If you wanted to like have something make sense, go watch some TV or play some video games. I'm just over here painting some tinfoil black. Yep. So, how am I dealing with this anxiety monster Cassandra Nova comic book ripoff? Thank you, Aaron. I don't think I could shake the nerd off me if I tried. And you're right. Nerds are also my kind of people. Man, I remember a time when it was super unpopular to be a nerd. Like in our current culture, you can kind of, I blame / thank Marvel movies. Like you can talk about superheroes and comic books, and most people that aren't over the age of, I don't know, 45, 50, are like, oh yeah, I know who Iron Man is. I'm like, how strange, because when I was a wee lad, Iron Man was a pretty esoteric character, not completely, but the comic book nerds who knew who he was, but your average Joe walking down the street was like, Iron Man, like the Black Sabbath song, and I'd be like, yeah, it rocks, but also this man in yellow and red metal costume. All right, so I finished painting, doing the first coat of the base. I need to set it somewhere to dry. I've actually gotten like very little paint on my hands thus far, but that's not going to last. Let's see. Excuse me a moment while I put this somewhere. Oh boy. It looks like I'm meatloaf. All right. So that's out of the way. Let's start painting some raspberries. So like I showed you at the beginning of this, this is the shinier one. This is the one with the extra coat of acrylic gold, and this is the one that was just spray paint. I'm going to do a little bit of post production on the photo, but I want to get it to. Generally, you want to get the image as close to what you actually want before you're like, I'll fix it in post, because certain editors don't like to hear that, and I don't blame them. Okay, so we're gonna flip around my fancy painting board. That was probably a mistake. That's like right where my arm goes, isn't it? We're gonna flip it back over again. There we go. Let's get out a couple. Let me show you how many we have, right? So these are my bugs. I am happy with. Like I don't feel like I wasted my time by spray painting them. The spray paint kind of gives something for the acrylic to stick to. That I don't think. I mean, the acrylic probably would have stuck to it, but it would have rubbed off really easily. And yeah, so grab a handful to start with. Start working on these. So, as I've slowly been moving towards, this will be the there you gotta see there. The done pile. Where the fuck am I even looking? There we go. So I spoke to my therapist, who is just the fucking best. Like it is, you have no idea. Maybe you do. I don't know. It's really hard to find a good therapist, and I really lucked out. But she and I spoke about the anxiety monster and how I am to deal with it. And she's like, "Well, Jack, you're in a career that creates a lot of anxiety. Like people will and are meant to, not maybe not meant to, but like people will judge what you're doing, which creates anxiety. You're doing something new and different with your life. I'm painting raspberries, as you may be seeing, and that creates anxiety. Like, this is a really dumb example, but I remember the first time I went and excuse me, signed up for a bank account by myself. Well, not by myself, but as a young adult, and I was just like super scared shitless, and they're super nice. Like they had done nothing wrong, or nothing to imply that they were like meanies. It's not like going to the bursar's office at the college and you're like, you guys are trying to find me thousands and thousands of dollars right now, and I have summer's class, and they're like, I'm also a student, and I don't like you. But because I was doing something new and something I didn't have other relating knowledge to, I was very anxious. And the person I was dating with at the time was like, I will go with you and hold your hand. so that you do not cry to this poor bank teller who's just signing up for a checking account. This me painting raspberries, starting a podcast, learning Audacity, learning the different equipment I need. That is me starting a bank account. Except for this time, I don't quite have the hand holding that I did with that, but I do have chums along for the ride. You know, I have Joe co-hosting with me, and I have number one superfan Aaron to listen to me vent about tech and occasionally offer me solutions. But yeah, I went to school to write, not even write, to act, and then I kind of weaseled my way into the writing aspect, to write and direct. As I was telling number one superfan Aaron earlier, I didn't go to school for tech because it's not my thing I'm good at. Like, I knew I took like a little bit here and there because you're required to, and I didn't hate all of it, but it's not my area of expertise. It doesn't come naturally, which reminds me, I don't know if you can kind of see this poking out of the corner of the screen. This is a kazoo, and Joe and I, co-hosts of DeRazzled, are going to, we're like, hey, we need a theme, right? Like, I don't personally like to, I didn't want to take a pre-existing song, because the pre-existing song kind of implies that it wasn't fashioned specifically for your product, your podcast. So like, if there's an area I know even less than computers, it's music. When I was in the third grade, we were learning the recorder, which is this, for those of you who don't know, it's like a plastic flute, very, very basic. It has like, I don't know, 5-6 holes, whatever. It sounds awful. Like, the sound of this thing will haunt my dreams. And I sucked at it. Like, I just, like, my third grade brain could not wrap around it. Mrs. Nail, who was my third grade teacher, I remember her coming in and she was speaking to the class, and she's like, I lost my whatever it is that teachers carry around with all their important shit in it, right? This is like, oh God, early 90s. So while like their computers, obviously, they weren't as heavily relied on, especially by like grade school teachers. We were still working off of floppy disks. Here we go. So what I'm doing, you can kind of see the pile growing over here. I'm painting one side. I'm going to let it dry, and then I'm going to flip it and paint the other side so that it I get the minimal amount of paint on my hand. That's also why, I don't know if you can hear it or not, but there's a little teeny tiny fan running to kind of help the drying process. Also, it's hot as shit down here, so just fucking deal with it. Anyway, Mrs. Nail, she came in and she was like, I've misplaced the thing that has all of the information about how many days you've missed, class. And then she went around the class, which I think the seating was like a C, and kind of like an oh man, I think I just lost my theater degree. What the fuck is that called? Not an auditorium. I don't know. Anyway, she went around the class and was like, "Hey, tell me." Oh, golly, sorry, my wedge fell out. So there we go. Sorry, camera shenanigans. Crimson Wave, Aaron, number one superfan. You are, as the one and only fan, and the person who's appeared in most of these recordings, You are by default the groupie. Sorry. I mean, maybe I'll make you a t-shirt or something. We'll see. We'll see how much time I have. So Mrs. Nail's going around the class, and she's talking to these third graders. She's like, okay, now how many days do you think you missed? And people are rattling off numbers. And like, for the most part, they're being fairly honest. And then she gets to me, and I'm like dead center of this letter C seating. And she's like, I'm like, I think I missed, because I was Kermit the Frog when I was in third grade, or I sounded like Kermit the Frog. And she's like, I know how many days you missed. And then just like moves past me. And I'm like, what the? And then I'm the only person she does that to. Like, I'm the only person in that class where she's like, no, child. I know exactly how many days you missed, because you are a fuck up. Because I did miss a lot of days in third grade. And the reason being is I fucking hated the recorder. I think it was every Wednesday we had a teacher come in specifically to teach us the recorder. And oh man, we'd have to stand up and play these things, which it's weird how much I enjoy performing on stage, considering how much I hated playing that fucking plastic ass flute in front of a bunch of other third graders. But I think that, like, whatever weird third grader trauma occurred there from Mrs. Nail being like, yeah, I know how bad you suck, young Jack. No need for you to be alive, or something. I think those were exact words. She was also the first teacher I saw, like, outside of class that smoked cigarettes, and my mind was blown. I think I saw her like a little league game. Because teachers don't drink or smoke or cuss. Grade school teachers. So it's little third grader Jack, who is real anxious about recording himself playing a kazoo, which is, if you aren't aware, the musical instrument, besides, I don't know, smacking a pasta pot, the easiest instrument to play, banging on pots and pans. Those are the words I was looking for. But hey, depending on when you're watching this, you may have already heard the amazing intro music that I've performed with the blue kazoo. Bless you. But that's the simplest, smallest version of the anxiety monster that I have working on this podcast and novel and everything. Actually, like, painting raspberries and building this logo is the thing I feel most comfortable with. Just putting a bunch of crap together and making it look halfway decent. I did a lot of, like, prop building in college, which is basically that. But yeah, my therapist said, like, you need to, like, try not to see this is anxiety monster, as I've described it, as something that's chasing you, that you're trying to defeat, because you won't. Like, you're never going to defeat it, unless you stop trying new things, like, unless you live a very safe life and don't take any risks, which there's nothing wrong with that. That's just not what I want to do. She said that if you can see the anxiety monster, if you're aware that it's there, that and that it's not something to be afraid of or run from, but simply acknowledging that, oh, it being there means that I am trying something new, and that's not a bad thing, then that reframes it, and you you can see it as an indicator of your feelings, which is, from what I understand of being in therapy for a number of years, at least this branch of therapy, that's really what it is trying to recognize your emotions as signals for, as like signs. Like anger means you're feeling this, anxiety means you're feeling this, and when the anxiety monster's running up behind you, it means this. Crimson verse Aaron, number one superfan, which is what I will be calling you every single time I mention you, brings up that he doesn't really think he wants to know what grade school teachers are up to outside of work. I am aware. I know two people who I think they're both in elementary education, and I went to college with one, and my buddy is, I believe, engaged. I don't think they've got married yet. Engaged to another, and I have partied with both, and I can say, if little third grade Jack saw what I saw as an adult partying with these individuals, oh, he would be real surprised. I mean, most of it wasn't illegal, but not all of it. Mrs. Nail lived up to her name, though. She was a hard ass. Yeah. I wonder if I should paint all of these. I probably should. That base is bigger than what I originally assumed. So talking with my therapist, that was Thursday. It was last Thursday. Today is Monday. I had been doing really well, like running out, like right out the gate, running as fast as I can from the anxiety monster. And then the last couple, I think it was like the day before I spoke with her, right? So Wednesday, I started to fall behind, right? Like I started to like feel the grimy hands of anxiety wrapping around me. And I've been trying to get back ahead of it and like recognize, like, hey, this just means you're trying something new. Isn't that neat? You're trying to break out of a rut. Oh my god, there's so many raspberries. And I don't know that I'm doing better at it. Like I definitely was like, man, I was a half hour late to recording this. Part of it was I took a really nice nap. And part of it was I apparently streamed so much sweet material for Ian's Jags that I used up all my free streaming hours on Melon app, which is what I use. You can see the logo up in the right hand corner. And they're like, money please. And I'm like, I'm real poor and like this isn't making me any money. And it's like, too bad. But like this was not the first thing I wanted to do with my evening. Which brings me to the second thing my therapist said, which was, if you weren't working on the podcast or your other artistic things, what would you be doing? What would you be doing instead? And are you gonna see my hands? Am I just like painting in the void? There we go. Because I don't want you to miss a single second of me painting these rubber raspberries. She's like, what would you be doing instead? And I'm like, well, anytime I have moved away from any particular artistic endeavor, I've just switched it out for something in the same ballpark. So like, I'm taking like a break from film, and I started writing a novel. And then I was like, I need to take a break from my novel, so I was drawing. And then I took a break from drawing, and now I'm making a podcast, and now I'm painting some raspberries. So I'm like, yeah, you're right. Like, even if I was like, I am too anxious to be doing this, I shall give up, and the anxiety monster will become disinterested and go seek better prey. I would still end up being chased by that thing eventually, because I can't give you up. I don't want to, and I can't stop doing stuff that's in this general artistic artsy field. So I'm like, okay, no, I get that. And she's like, if you're enjoying what you're doing, then it's not really work. You don't need to be anxious because you're having fun. Like, who gives a shit what the general product is if you're enjoying the process? Because like the end goal is to at some point be able to survive off of something I'm doing, right? Some kind of like creator product I'm putting out, be it film, novels, or raspberry painting. And I'm like, this is true. Like the main, try this again. It becomes unenjoyable when the anxiety overtakes me. So if I can fight that bear off and keep having fun, then it'll diminish the strength of anxiety. But I don't enjoy all of it. And this is something that kind of came up often with filmmaking. There are aspects of filmmaking that I really, really enjoy. I love working with the other creatives. I enjoy working with the actors, working the story, seeing how the story evolves visually, performance-wise. But there sure is a lot of like not fun stuff to filmmaking, right? I don't understand why any human being would ever voluntarily want to become a producer. To me, that is maybe not the most stressful job, but like the least rewarding aspect of filmmaking. That's also not true. There are people who get way less recognition. But for me, like when I produced, or when I would even help like super producer Joe, oh my God, like I hated making phone calls and like setting up locations and making sure. I think we talked about a little bit on our Wild Wild West episode, like, hey man, what do you do as a producer? And basically you make sure, oh shit, sorry, earthquake. You make sure that the movie gets made. So that's not fun. Like, that is not fun for me. And like making a podcast. So I'm editing each episode, which like I'm gonna fix this table again. Apologize for any impromptu earthquakes. I'm using a broken clothespin to balance this table. So that's the kind of professionalism you can expect on the DeRazzled podcast. I think I actually made it worse. God damn it. First paycheck we make. Table with 4 legs that are all the same length. That's my solemn promise to you, dear fans. Fuck, I don't even know what I was talking about now. Let's take a look at the comments. Yeah. So like I am getting my foot in the door, and hey, I've already got one super fan, which is if I'm being entirely honest. I didn't even expect to have one person kind of following me right now. It does kind of feel like, excuse the camera for a second. I am going to fix this fucking table. I don't know how many people remember the, oh god, it was like 2001 Dawn of the Dead. It's the Zack Snyder film. Zack Snyder version and my favorite film of his. Partially because James Gunn wrote the script and it's really funny. In a James Gunn kind of way. But I think there's like some bonus stuff on the DVD where it's like you have the people in the mall, and then delicious. You have the people in the mall, and then you have like one other guy that they're able to get on radio. And it's been a while since I've seen the movie. It's like one of the characters from the mall is talking to the one other guy on radio, and it's just the two of them talking back and forth. And that's kind of what it feels like sometimes with number one superfan Aaron, where I'm like, it's a conversation at the end of the world. No one else is here. Sure, they could tune in on their radios because that's what they're using is radio, but there's only two people here, which is not it's not a great thing from trying to get monetized, but it is amusing to me, like the movie was. Okay, all right, we are a little over halfway through painting the raspberries halfway. Yes, bringing you the entertainment you asked for, one half a raspberry at a time. I'm happy with the way they're turning out, though. Even I don't know if you can see the difference as far as like this is the side that's painted, and then here's the side that's not painted. Yeah, I think I can see a difference. Yeah. All right. What was I saying? I don't know. So I made a bit of a whoopsie as far as running from the anxiety monster, right? This is before the revelation that I'm just supposed to make friends with him, invite him in for drinks, and feed him hors d'oeuvres. Actually, my anxiety monster is genderless. It is a collection of baby hands and teeth. But so I've been working on this novel, and the way that I've been working on it, or the way I've been going about it, cool. I'm glad you can see the difference as well. Even on the super duper high resolution cam. So I've been working on this novel, and it's a different one than what I've been working on. I've been working on this one. It's a horror novel called Winter House is Burning. And it's huge and sprawling, and it's a collection of short-ish stories, quote unquote, that all take place in Centralia, Pennsylvania, over the duration of like 150 years. So you'll pop in for a story in like 1893, and then the next one is like 1996. But because of the nature of that story, the vastness that it covers, it takes a lot of planning. Like I can't just humpty-doo, I'm going to sit down and write this because I feel like it. So I started working on this other novel that I've just been calling it retro horror novel because, which is not normal for me, but I can't think of a good title. Not even a good working title. But so I sat down, I started writing from point A to point B, one chapter at a time. And the rule I made for myself is don't look back, right? Like that's the reoccurring theme here. Don't look back. Like you're hanging from a cliff, and it's like, don't look down. And then, of course, you look down, right? Like the character always looks down. So I got to chapter 4, and like I would look back as like a paragraph back, just so I'm like, oh, okay, that's where I left off. But I wouldn't. What I normally do is like reread whatever I had written the day before, rewrite it, and then continue forward. Which for Winter House is great. It's very slow, but it's great because it makes a tighter story. It makes it a little easier to edit down the road. But it also makes it easier for that anxiety monster to grab you with them little baby hands. So I got the chapter 4. I want to say it's. I haven't been keeping word count or page count either. I was probably like 60, 70 pages in, and I'm like, man, you know what else is kind of a benefit of rereading what you've written every so many weeks? You remember the idiosyncrasies of the character, right? Like the main character, Kate. I'm like, wait, does she like crunchy or creamy peanut butter? I don't remember. Which is like, you can kind of put in like fill in the blank here later, and that's fine. But it's also, there are like, this is going to sound really stupid, but every stupid little choice like that, like her liking crunchy or creamy peanut butter, says something about her character in my head. Maybe to no one else, but like clearly somebody who likes creamy peanut butter is a sociopath, and somebody who likes crunchy peanut butter likes to spend their time crunching and thinking about things and debating life. This is an awful example, but you kind of get what I'm saying. So I was like, all right, I'm reaching the end of chapter 4, and I don't remember enough of the small idiosyncrasies about the characters, specifically the grandfather, who he's a more subtle character. Like there's a 6-year-old named Isaac. Like he's pretty surface level. I don't have to worry about like, oh, he says he likes turtles. He likes turtles. There's no subtext there. He just thinks they're neat. And why shouldn't he? Whereas Grandpa, he's a little bit more manipulative with his wording. If he's like, oh yeah, you know what, like that nail polish looks really good on you. It could mean that it looks really good on you. It could also mean that he's like, kind of looking a little like a hoe. Because that's just how Grandpa do. So I reread. I'm in the middle of rereading chapter 4. I've reread chapters 1 through 3 this weekend, and being that I'm very tired and slowly burning myself out, I'm like, oh man, this is shit. Like you've spent the last month and a half writing shit, and part of me is aware that like, one, I'm not spending as much time editing it over and over and over again, so it's not going to be quite as polished as Winter House is. But also, it's probably has more to do with my own insecurities and the grimy little baby hands of the anxiety monster, which, since I stopped and took the time to read the fucking novel, it had a little bit more time to sink its hands in. So I'm aware of that, and I'm aware because if you've been listening very closely, you know that the anxiety monster just means that you are trying something new. And it's coughing that self-doubt. It's coughing that self-doubt all over you. So they're really, the novel's not perfect. Like there are going to be many drafts of it down the road, but it's not as bad as I feel it is. Like it's not shit. I've now been writing long enough that it's probably not garbage. I mean, I've been writing since the first grade. If I haven't figured it out by now, I guess no one tell me. I'll just take it to my grave. But I'm gonna finish reading chapter 4 just so that I do have all those things fresh in my mind. I do know what Pap Weston means when he's like, not really pulling off that purple nail polish. And then I think I'm gonna hop over to the Knifebreaker comic and finish drawing the initial pencils for it. Maybe not do like the full inks, but like just enough to take my mind off of the novel for a second. Man, it takes for fucking ever to paint raspberries, huh? Yeesh. Well, what else you want to talk about? We'll talk about the Razzies, right? I mean, it's topical. So I like the podcast. I like the idea for the podcast. I like the process. Now that we've like done an entire episode, and I've been editing the first like actual episode together, because the first episode that we shot was what will be a bonus episode of whether or not Batman performs cunnilingus. Whereas the first actual episode is us talking about Wild Wild West, the 1999 winner of the Worst Picture, the Razzies. But what I don't like about the podcast, and this is kind of unavoidable. We're shitting on someone's art, right? Like we're talking about it in a way, like we're not being dicks about it, but the Razzies are inherently pointing a finger and laughing at the ugly kid, right? And I think Kevin Smith said, I used to listen to his podcast all the time, and he's like, I'd rather light a flame than something. Basically, meaning he'd rather talk about the good things in a movie or some art rather than like shit on someone. Like, why put your energy out there in a negative way? And I get that, and also like so before we get to like the critical part of the podcast where we're talking about like what worked and what didn't work, I do bring up that a film is not just a creation of the like six faces that you see on screen, right? It's not like Wild Wild West isn't just Will Smith and Kevin Kline and Kenneth Branagh and Salma Hayek, and it's not just the director and the writer, right? Especially not a movie like that. Like thousands of people worked on Wild Wild West, and some of them did a really good job with what they were doing. Like the costume person doesn't have any control over the dialogue. Like, and the costumes are. I really like the costumes. I really like the set from that movie. But the dialogue was pretty stupid. I mean, there's some good parts, but well, there were some enjoyable parts. But who am I to shit on Barry Sonnenfeld's movie Wild Wild West? And like that, in that particular example, he himself has been like fuck that movie. Will Smith's been like fuck that movie. I don't know what Kevin Kline said. I did watch an interview with Kevin Branagh where he talked very diplomatically about it, and god damn it is he charming. I want to dislike him just because he's so fucking pretty, but like man, he's really charming. What are you saying there, Aaron? Yes, that's true. Like I feel bad about saying what I'm saying, but like if it was I think like 1980 and I was watching the movies and I came up with the idea for the Razzies, I wouldn't do it. Like making an entire award program surrounding the idea of shitting on films. It's one thing to be a critic and say like, hey, here's what's working, what's not working. It's another thing to say like, fuck these people for even trying, which is kind of what the Razzies do, depending on the film, right? Like some of them are a cash grab, some of them are just like, man, they reached and it just didn't work out, and like sometimes that shit's unavoidable, right? Like, not that like Blade Runner is one of my favorite movies of all time, but some of the shit that happened on set was entirely unavoidable. Or even better example, Apocalypse Now. No one could have planned for some people to have a heart attack, or the weather to be monsoony. Like, now that movie turned out to be one of my favorite movies of all time, but that's very rarely what happens. Normally, like, a fucking monsoon hits, and you're like, well, I guess we have to recast this person because they're assigned to another project, and that person just really wasn't appropriate for the job. So now we have some really poorly. I know there's an example, but like some really poorly cast actor. Hey, co-host Bud. Um, we are joined by Brick Frog 86, aka Joe, the co-host. Joe, you've missed me. Well, I've been painting raspberries. I've also been ranting about anxiety, in being an artist and dealing with anxiety. And I rambled the whole way around that and kind of came to the conclusion that anxiety just means you're trying something new, man. Like, that's okay. And I'm painting more raspberries. And then I started talking, and you can chime in on this should you desire. That I really like the podcast that we're putting together. I do feel bad that we are creating a product that's based solely upon shitting on someone else's product, right? Like, I don't want to be the online movie nerd who's like, man, that episode was terrible. There wasn't enough Xena, which is always true. There should be more Xena. But but I'm kind of I'm trying to deal with, like, who am I to say, like, this film doesn't work, you should feel bad. Like, I want to encourage better writing, better film production, but I also, oh no, well, we have one less raspberry. I don't want to say, like, here's how movies should be made, because as I've told Aaron before, like, this world's a hard world to live in. Like, if you're getting enjoyment out of Zack Snyder's Justice League, like, I'm not going to shit on you enjoying that. Like, get your yucks where you can get them. But also, like, you probably could have made a better movie. Reading some comments. Yeah, no, you're right. We are talking about, like, what worked about them as well. And the Razzies sure don't do that. No, they just kind of, like, I've never actually watched the Razzies, and, like, spoilers. So I have 13 episodes outlined for this season of DeRazzled. We've recorded 2 of them. There are 9 regular episodes, meaning we take a movie and we critique it. We have our guests on, and then we have 3 kind of, like, bonus or, like, irregular episodes. I think I've already painted this one. Really should have a better raspberry painting system here. And then there is a Halloween episode where we're going to cover Nothing But Trouble, which I'm genuinely looking forward to that. I've never seen it. I know it's a favorite of the fellas at Last Podcast on Left. I am somewhat less looking forward to our Christmas special. Sorry, Joe. Hold on. I'm gonna read through some comments I missed. That's true. So Joe brings up the comment, the fear of us covering. I want to say it was the most recent winner of Worst Picture, Hillary's America. I could be wrong. It was definitely one of the ones since Trump became a political figure. I actually no wait no that one is like 2016's because election stuff, and I don't have somebody booked for that. I do have somebody booked for, I want to say, Absolute Proof, which was 2020's winner for Worst Picture, and that will be Nate Moser, who's like, I'm fairly politically aware. He's very politically aware, and I want to make somebody else have to suffer through that with me. It's a Dinesh D'Souza. I'm not familiar with Dinesh D'Souza. Did he do Hillary's America? All right, cool. So we're gonna do right now. I have, like, we did Wild Wild West, which was just you as guest. Then we did the first bonus episode, which was talking about whether or not Batman performs cunnilingus. Then we'll have 2 more regular episodes, which right now we've Steve Luciano coming on to watch Battlefield Earth, which I'm I'm excited for, because I like Steve quite a lot, and I think we're gonna have a good time. But it is not a movie I have ever had any desire to watch, not even like a morbid fascination. After that, we're gonna have Belinda on to do White Chicks, which is not technically a Worst Picture winner, but because we talked about it so early on in the creation of this podcast, we're just gonna let it fly. Some comments. Ooh, right-wing media grifter. Aw, sweet. My favorite kind of grifter. So after we record Belinda's, it'll probably be time to do our Halloween episode, which will be Nothing But Trouble, which will be, I kind of plan for the like little bonus stuff to just be you and I, but like if somebody really wants to talk about Nothing But Trouble, like let's say like our good chum Vince is actually like a secret fucking Nothing But Trouble fan. He has like all the posters. He has it on oh shit, what are those called? The big discs, laser disc. Then like, sure, man, come on in, we'll talk about it. Aaron, our buddy Faith, is going to come on to talk about Avatar: The Last Airbender in that like middle quarter. I have a couple slots. I don't know. I have some like people lined up, but not exactly movies assigned to them. With Aaron saying Battlefield Earth is the worst. Probably one of the only movies you'll hear me say is the worst. Aaron is, I get you. How you say it? Not like super critical about film, right? Like you can enjoy a movie regardless of the artistic intent behind it, except for Battlefield Earth, which is just right out. Yeah. I think like before I'd even talked to Faith as a human being, we worked together at the place where I work until recently. But she's an enormous Avatar fan. Joe, have you watched the whole series? Because I've only ever seen a single episode. I do intend to watch at least like the first 5 or so before we do that episode, just because I want to know like how badly did they adapt it, and I can't really know that without watching a little bit of the series. Joe's saying he's seen Avatar: The Last Airbender a number of times. I vaguely remembered you being a fan of it, but couldn't remember for sure. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna do that. I if I don't find a better fit for Vince, I'd like to have Vince watch Cats with us. Though I would like to find something for Rob, Buddy Musical Rob. I don't want to say last names in case people are weird. Because he's a musical theater person, and I'm sure he has a lot to say about Cats. But he's also a Medea fan, and there's a lot of Medea movies on the Razzie Award list. If I recall, the Avatar movie kind of sank M. Night Shyamalan's career. I mean, it was kind of like not doing great at that moment anyway, but I want to say like Avatar really kind of put him out of the film business for a minute, until what was the movie he did with the lady? Split. Until Split came out, and now people like him again, I think. I've only ever really cared for Unbreakable with Bruce Willis. I think I haven't seen The Sixth Sense, but Unbreakable I really enjoyed, specifically the cinematography, and kind of the like postmodern. Can you have a postmodern, like the postmodern superhero film aspect of it? Back when we were getting movies like Ghost Rider and Elektra. Yeah, I would like to watch Sixth Sense at one point. I don't. This isn't intentional, but when a movie comes out and it has a lot of buzz around it, like people are like, "This is a great fucking movie." I tend to let it die down until I watch it, so I can give it like a fair shake. An example of that would be No Country for Old Men. Like, people raved about the movie when it first came out. I'm like, well, I won't be able to watch it and judge it on its own merit for a minute, because all I know is like every one of my nerdy film friends fucking loves it, which for good reason. It's an amazing film. But that's the same reason why I haven't seen Titanic, or Cameron's other big sloppy blockbuster, Blue Tail Avatar, I think is the full title. I fell behind a little bit. Whoa, there's a bunch of comments. Oh gosh. Oh shit. I have seen the 2015 Worst Picture winner, Fantastic Four. I have not seen 50 Shades of Grey, but that Fantastic Four movie absolutely deserves the Razzie. Though I feel bad for, I want to say the director's name is Josh Trank. I think he got mistreated by the studio. Joe, what episode did you want to do a head-to-head or mashup of? I watched Split when it came out, because it's James McAvoy, I want to say, and Anna Taylor Boop Boop. I can't remember their names, but they're both really, really good actors. The scenes with James McAvoy and his therapist, I really did not enjoy, even though I feel like I really like the actress who played the therapist. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. But and I hate to be that guy, but I'm like, this is deeply inaccurate. I was also dating a therapist at the moment. So like we were both just like, this is such horseshit. But the stuff with like James McAvoy playing, I don't know, like 9 different parts. I'm like, this dude fucking rocks. He doesn't get nearly enough credit. Oh gosh. Joe, I would not mind doing a Fantastic Four versus 50 Shades of Grey mashup. I'm sure we could think of a cool way to do it. I do not. I'm currently reading Battlefield Earth in preparation for a Battlefield Earth episode. I will not read 50 Shades of Grey. I am good. I'll just tune into one of our friends' FetLife, and that'll be plenty for me. Thanks. Yeah, I think 1980 was the year the Razzies were created. And it was not meant to be like, this is a product we're putting forth for the future. It was just some like, man, won't hear me say this term very often, but like film snobs bitching about the film industry in 1980. But I don't think I recognize any of the films that were nominated. We can have a spin-off podcast about FetLife, of which I know very little, or do I? I know none. I know nothing. But I was gonna. So the third and last special episode of DeRazzled is going to be the Christmas episode, obviously, specifically so we can get Kirk Cameron's fucking movie out of the way. I think it's called like Saving Christmas. I'm not looking. I think of all the movies, that might be the one I'm least interested in doing. Is opera related, I think. Yeah, I saw Friday the 13th was nominated, which like I watched it like right after I graduated undergrad, thinking watching it based upon its reputation and not so much on just wanting to watch the film. And I didn't enjoy it, which is why I don't like to watch movies based upon reputation. Like I like to kind of go in cold. But Kevin Bacon's in it, and that makes every movie just a little better. Kevin Bacon, I love you. You guys know he has an album? It's not bad. It's like kind of folksy country. I think it's him and his brother. The name's kind of punny, so I don't remember what it is. Saving Christmas be I like the thought of Kirk Cameron being the Ben Shapiro of the Razzies. I like it. I hate it, but I like it. I think there's going to have to be a third part for the logo build. But I think the third part will be the last part. I don't want to try to hot glue these while the paint's still drying. But hey, just gives you guys another chance to listen to me ramble about my therapy and Kirk Cameron. Yeah, it is strange to think that Friday the 13th, which does have an enormous fan base, was nominated. But I also want to say Stanley Kubrick was nominated for Worst Director. I want to say the same year as Friday the 13th. I could be wrong about that. But like The Shining is maybe not top 5 favorite films for me, but it's top 10 for sure. If for no other reason than the way it's shot. But at the time when The Shining came out, what a horror film was, what people thought a horror film should be, was not The Shining. It's weird because like it was honestly a little bit more along the lines of Friday the 13th. and I don't know how much the difference between the Shining movie and the Shining novel played into its poor reception, but like it was not received well, which is it's kind of fascinating. And I would not say it's a perfect movie, but it is. The Shining is infinitely rewatchable to me. And it's yeah. We'll talk about my love of The Shining some other time. So the third bonus episode will be Saving Christmas with Kirk Cameron. I think he may have directed it. I don't know. I don't really care. And then yes, The Shining does rule. And I love Stephen King, but sometimes he's not the best critic of his adapted work, which I get because it's not super loyal to the book. Change over time. Cult following. Yeah. It's. I mean, with cult movies, which is it's not its own genre, but when you like look up lists for movies, those like the cult classics are probably my favorite to go through. Man, it's you have like no idea what's gonna. I mean, The Room. Who would have guessed that would have the following that it does? So after we do Saving Christmas, we'll have 3 more usual episodes. I've no one booked or planned for that. I have like some I have some writers in mind, but nothing booked, and no films picked out for them either. And then what I'd like to do for our season finale is to actually live stream the Razzies. I don't know what year they're on, 45, 46, with any of the guests. Basically, if you've been a guest on the show, you have an open invite to join us for the Razzies, and then do a post show for the podcast. I agree. Doctor Sleep was mediocre. I've heard that the director's cut's better, but I wasn't a huge fan of the book either, and the movie doesn't. The movie stays pretty loyal to the book as far as I can remember. So I don't know that that's necessarily the movie's fault. Because most of my problems with the movie were story related. The one concern I have with live streaming the Razzies is I've never seen them. I know that they have a bit of a reputation of being misogynists. I don't know if that is from a time long ago, but I don't know if they're I mean, it's too late now, but like I don't know if their product is a product I want to be associated with. But hey, the podcast is called DeRazzled. I'm painting golden raspberries. Might have gone a little too far. I think my favorite, maybe not my favorite, but like one of the cult films that's really up there for me as far as it did really, really poorly, and I fucking love it, is John Carpenter's The Thing from 1982. I don't have any criticism for that film. If I did, it would just be that I want more of it. Like if there's somewhere exists a like 6-hour cut of John Carpenter's The Thing, I would love it. And it's not even its fault. It's not even its fault that it did poorly. It came out the same year. It definitely came out the same year as E.T. And I want to say it came out I was going to say it came out the same year as Raiders of the Lost Ark, but I don't think that's true. But it was, I think 1982 is considered one of the better summers for film as far as like movies that came out and were pretty fucking dope. Now, I've laid out the kind of rough schedule. The first half is pretty laid out, as you would expect. I'm trying to keep it a little loose because people's schedules and whatnot. But I do want to keep it a shorter season just so it's a little bit less intimidating to do. But what it excludes is, so the one thing I will say about the Razzies, as far as like, okay, that's fair, I do like that, is that they tend to focus on films that are big budget Hollywood films usually. So they're not picking on the little guy. Which, like, if they did that, if they were like picking on like indie films or even lower budget films, I'd be like, you know what, fuck you guys. Like, you fund them and see what they can do with the same money that Wild Wild West had, which is great, and I love that. But it excludes, because they do that, it excludes what have become the kind of go-to worst movies of all time, like The Room and Trolls 2, specifically those two movies. I'd like to watch. I don't know that I'd want to do a full episode on them. Maybe just a watch along, which I don't know about you. I kind of see the watch alongs as a secondary means of entertainment. But as I was telling Aaron, like basically anytime I'm doing something creative, I'm gonna turn the fucking camera on, just to give people that sweet content. Yeah, but I think I like the idea. I like the idea of trying to fix The Room and Trolls 2, just because it would be a challenge. I don't want to put the work into it. Meaning I don't want to add an additional episode to our schedule. That said, if we like, I was see what we got here. So next Razzie is supposed to be today. Wait, really? Oh, I don't know why I thought the Razzies were around the same time as the Oscars. Maybe COVID fucked up something. Because I think they usually are either right before or right after the Academy Awards. But I could be wrong. Well, golly, I sure hope we didn't miss it, because fuck. Well, we'll figure out something. I'm sorry, Aaron, what are you saying about plot? Who has plot or the lack thereof? Oh, are we talking about Trolls 2 and The Room? Joe, no worries about misreading the site. It looks like it was created in 1997 by an intern. It is impossible to navigate. I'm trying to decide if I want to stop here or if I want to try to put the glitter on it. Like, for the sake of the product, I probably should stop now. But for fun, I just want to fuck with some glitter. Oop, Mr. Raspberry. Gotcha, Aaron. Cool. All right. That was more. I didn't know it was that late into March, but that's fine. I thought it was like late February, early March. But yeah, I think that'll be what we could do is do like release the first half of the episodes, and then take a like an intermission and maybe do like a couple of watch along episodes in the middle there, like The Room and Trolls 2, and I'm sure there's a million more that I can't remember. And then come back, kind of do like a mid-season break. Do those even exist anymore? Do like a mid-season break, come back, do the second half of episodes in time to land on the Razzies. And we can still like record and work on the episodes in that intermission, but we just won't release anything new as far as podcast episodes go. Gotcha. Oscars are in February, and Razzies were in April. Yeah, I have a feeling COVID kind of fucked everything up a little bit as far as scheduling goes for the Razzies and the Oscars. Make sure I didn't miss any other spots. But like, what I'd like to do is get as many episodes of DeRazzled recorded so that we have them done. You know, if life happens, I can peck away at them. Gotcha. And I've fallen a little bit into the trap that I fell into when we were working on our previous podcast, the one whose title is too bad for me to mention, but the idea was pretty cool, wherein we talk about the stories that were a turning point for people, where like the amount of research I was doing per episode was more, it was just a lot. And I do want to do that amount of research per episode for that. But working on that, consuming that much on top of working on other shit was a bit much. So whereas this is like, once we have, it'll be a total of 12 podcast episodes, and then the finale will be episode 13 of the Razzies. I was watching it. I want to release that either every week or every other week. I wouldn't mind doing, like, at least recording the episodes of. Yeah, the working title is A Story of Us. Don't judge the podcast by the title. It's not final. I wouldn't mind recording those irregularly, just so that they were recorded and we could release those in between episodes of DeRazzled or what have it. Wait, did I miss some comments? Gotcha. Yeah, so like for Battlefield Earth, I made the mistake of reading the fucking book, which it's 47 hours long because I'm listening to an audiobook. For context, Stephen King's It is 44 hours long, and Stephen King's it's like that thick. So yeah, maybe that thick for Battlefield Earth, except for Stephen King's It. I've rereading for the second time because I love it. Whereas Battlefield Earth, he probably could have written it as a novella or a short novel and gotten across the same content. Yeah, I agree, Aaron. I think so. Like, one of the podcasts I really enjoy is called Decoder Ring, and they do a huge amount of research per episode. And they were doing, for a while, one episode per month, and then even that was a bit much. So they changed it to, well, they did it. I don't know. I don't want to do this, but what they did was they like took 6 months off, did all the episodes, and now are releasing them like every 2 weeks. And then I assume they'll take another huge break and then do the same thing. Which, like, if we were doing kind of a mini series type thing, like there was a podcast I listened to on Operation Midnight, which is, man, that's a real trip. Like, the podcast was really interesting. The CIA, man, they sure do some weird things. They released that as a miniseries, and they released that like every week, and that's fine. But like, if it's a regularly running show, I don't want that much time between episodes. No, no, L. Ron Hubbard, he does not know brevity. So luckily he's dead. Luckily he was dead before they did the audiobook. So you don't have the author reading his own work, which sometimes works and oftentimes does not. But what you do have is like a 45-minute intro that's like, the book doesn't read like him talking, but the intro reads like him talking, which makes sense. And it is, much like listening to him talk, fucking annoying. So I skipped that shit. So fellas, I'm going to try to apply the spray adhesive. I don't know what kind of sound that's going to make. I don't think it'll fuck with the camera, but if it does, it might be a real abrupt end to this stream. But what I'm gonna do, I think I'm gonna do a coat of glitter on this side, and then call it quits for the night. But I mean, I'm not gonna just show you glitter and then not do it. My first exposure to both L. Ron Hubbard and Scientology, it's a bag in a bag. Oh, look how pretty that is. Oh, I want to eat it. Am I supposed to keep this bag in that bag, or are they just double bagging it for safety? I don't know. So, Joe, I'm sure you remember Stapleton Library, the library at the prestigious university that we both attended. They had a book sale every late spring semester, and like my sophomore year, they sold a bunch of fucking L. Ron Hubbard books. Why did they have such a selection? No idea. Oh, man, this lid's on there real good. Pardon any sounds that may or may not occur. Let's see here. Ooh, shake vigorously for 2 minutes. Not doing that. Oh fuck. Yeah, they did request heated stairs for that library, didn't they? Yeah, there was a bunch of Ayn Rand books as well. So weird. I got a bunch of cool plays. Like, shit, I can't remember his name. I think Leroy Jones, I want to say. But I was like, well, I'm not gonna read his stupid ass books ever, JK. But they had a DVD of him just like talking about psychology, and I was like, oh, I like psychology. Like, I'd taken a couple courses. I want to hear what L. Ron has to say about. Okay, that's sticky. About this subject, and this is before I knew anything about Scientology, and specifically that Scientology is very anti-psychology, which makes no fucking sense to me. So I watched it, and I remember becoming livid. Like, I don't know when he fucking died. I was gonna try to be nice about him, be like, when he passed, but like, fuck him. Oh, man, that's some nice glitter right there. Aaron, so I'm just catching up. Joe, Leroy Jones, is that the name he's currently going by? Amari Baraka? This basement shall forever have super shiny extra glitter everywhere. Oh, I was not aware that that playwright had passed. Yeah, I picked up, I want to say one of them was called The Toilet. This play that I picked up. There was another one, there was like a 3 or 4 that I picked up, and I was like, man, these plays are super weird and angry, and I love them. But yeah, there's a bunch of L. Ron Hubbard books and DVDs, and he just talks about how the man uses psychology to teach us how broken we are, and how this newfangled psychology is warping our brains. We read a little bit of August Wilson specifically for, what was that, modern? I think Modern Theater 1 or 2, maybe 2. It was probably 2. Which I would not have guessed those 2 would have. Well, that. Oh man, I lost his name. It's too far up, and I'm not scrolling with glitter on my hands. Formerly known as Leroy Jones would have had an influence on him. That reminds me, I don't know if the August Wilson Center in Pittsburgh is just a place where they put on shows, or if it's also somewhat of a museum. I wouldn't mind checking that out. I actually really miss live theater. Would like to check out a show next time there is one. Our friend Rob is putting on a show. Oh man, I'm such a shitty friend. I want to say it's an operetta. I want to say it's Gilbert and Sullivan. That is very much outside of my wheelhouse. But he has a show coming up in, I think, less than 2 weeks, and I might try to catch that. Even though what I'd like to see is some straight theater, musical theater, and operettas are not really my thing. Yeah, Aaron, this glitter is very, very fine. Like, I looked for specifically very fine glitter because they don't want like big chunks on the raspberries. But you're right. Like, this is who I am now. Like, I don't know if you can see any like shine. Ooh yeah. Ooh yeah. That, I'm just gonna be pooping glitter for a month. Let's see if this picks up. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that's some good stuff. I think the last show I saw before the world temporarily came to an end, it might have been Equus, which I don't think it was at the August Wilson Center. I can't remember where it was. It was downtown, but it was excellent. Like, I really enjoy is maybe not the word I would use, because as you're both aware, I don't of my strange fears. Horses are among them, and Equus is kind of, revolves around a horse, and there's like nightmarish horsemen in it, and like BDSM style strap. And it was a great show. But I would like to see something again besides Equus. It might have been the Benedum. It might have been, although I think the Benedum is the larger theater. I want to say that's more for like touring shows, whereas this theater is more like not, it wasn't small, but it was like smaller than like a big touring show. I think I saw Spam-A-Lot at the Benedum, whereas this was like, you know, you could see the expressions of the actors masturbating about horses, which you don't want to miss that. Yeah, we did. I lied. I'm actually going to try to do the back halves of these, and then I will be done for the night. Yeah, I enjoyed our our journey through Clive Barker's Hellraiser franchise, which is another thing we did way too much research for. No, maybe not too much, but I'll never be the same. All right. Weren't we supposed to get a Hellraiser remake? I can't remember. I know we're getting a Candyman movie coming up real soon. The trailer looks super cool. I need to rewatch the original. I haven't seen it since undergrad. Oh, was Hellraiser 3 the one with the pillar and like the CD DJ Cenobite? Am I remembering that right? Like 1 and 2 I remember really well because I like them quite a lot. But like I think 3 was the good. And then 4 was the one that kind of like jumped around through time, I want to say, which I liked the idea of. Kind of showing the origins of the shit. I can't remember the name of the box, the puzzle box, something configuration. But the execution of those ideas, not great. The original Candyman, it's slower for a horror film, which makes sense. Like the original Hellraiser's a little slower. You know, it's more story driven than like horror driven. And I want to say that's the same. That's the case with the original Candyman as well, both being Clive Barker creations. But I don't know who's directing the new one. I think Jordan Peele is producing it, which I'm excited about. Yes, live-in configuration. Thank you. Yes. Maybe like one more coat, because I really don't want to have to fuck with this again. That's spray paint. Don't want to use that. But yeah, I don't want to do another podcast where we're like, let's watch the entire Hellraiser franchise for this single hour-and-a-half episode, or read this trilogy of novels to have an hour-and-a-half episode. Like, I enjoyed the process, but it takes a long time, and the preparation involved for oh no, I'm stuck. The preparation for DeRazzled, you know, I write the script, we watch the movie. I think, you know, like I spent some time thinking about the criticism and like how we'd fix it, but it's nothing compared to reading like 3 12-hour books or numerous Hellraisers. And that's how you paint raspberries. What do I miss here? Yeah, I don't know David Bruckner either. I do trust Jordan Peele. Of the stuff he has not directed but has produced, I've only watched The Twilight Zone, and I only watched like the first episode, and it wasn't bad. I think I'm too much a fan of the original to enjoy it properly. But I want to say like Candyman makes more sense to me as a Jordan Peele product than Twilight Zone did. I did I see VHS? So David Bruckner did. I think VHS is an anthology. Did one of the portions of VHS. So to finish up, yeah, guys, thanks for hanging out with me tonight. I had a good time painting some raspberries and chit chatting. I think that'll work. I think once I get some lighting on there, I think that'll do it. We'll see if I continue to do stuff like this. I don't know if I'm gonna do like a therapy session every time. I probably will for like the last one, just for continuity or consistency rather. But I will say it was easier once we got a conversation going. To like work on stuff while also live streaming and talking. Thank you, Aaron. Yeah, I'm to just look at them, they don't look great, but like to see the way the light plays on the raspberries, it's doing what I want it to do. I don't know if you guys can hear Bushy, my cat, screaming, but I guess it's time for me to go be a papa. Oh man, how the hell am I gonna turn this off? Well, yeah, she's been up there alone for a little bit. So I'm gonna go wash my soul of glitter and then cuddle with my cat. All right, Ian's Jags. I'll talk to you soon, Joe. I'll see you tomorrow. Aaron, if you're joining us, I'll chit chat with you then. Otherwise, I'll see you Wednesday. All right, Jags. Bye. Maybe.